We're Batman at 89. Hello and welcome to Batman at 89, the show that does not leave Vicki waiting, nor the listeners. I am your host, John Parker.
I am the other host, Niall McGowan.
Yes, Sam, we are joined once more by Heidi Bennett of the Spinal Tap Minute and Cabin in the Woods Minute podcasts. Hello, Heidi.
Hey, hello. And it's the Cabin in the Woods is the movie.
Yes, I've messed it up.
It's called Cabin Minute Cast.
Cabin Minutes Cast. Yes. Oh, geez, we're never going to remember this, are we?
So believe me,
the minute cabin cast. That's it. That's what we're pitching.
I think I called you guys every variation of Batman Minute 89 and etc. when you first launched.
I think I've heard like other podcasts where we've been shouted out, and they're always like, "Oh yes, Batman Minutes 1989." It's like that's. Close enough, yeah.
This is the problem when we've both got the same issue, and we either pick a slightly differently titled movie or one that's a different title for the podcast to the movie. Because obviously Bat Minute, people get confused. Yeah. But anyway, we are here for minute 59 of Batman, and the minute starts with Miss Vale being cruelly stood up, and it ends with her having to breathe through a kind of weird psychedelic respirator, which isn't quite the date she had in mind, I imagine.
Almost definitely. So
no, well, I mean, it could be a fun evening. It doesn't look like the kind of place you'd have fun otherwise. Let's be honest, it looks quite boring. But yes, we are back here with Vicki, still waiting.
Yeah.
But who could stand her up? She's lovely. She's a delight.
I have noted as well that it's like I don't think you confirmed last minute there that it was supposed to be a gin and tonic, where I have that note going like, is she going for the old-fashioned Alfred drink of the pitcher of vodka we had earlier in the film? Yeah, very clearly noting like, oh, she's not ordered any food, no appetizers. Is it more like, well, I'm waiting to see what happens? Or is it like, well, he's going to pay? Like this guy, the guy who tried to get rid of me? Well, no, of course, he's going to pay through the nose when he shows up here. But
well, that's fair enough, I think. He can certainly afford it.
Yeah, that could be... It could have been there's a whole cut sequence of her like ordering bread and olives and stuff, and then it's just like it's a whole Spinal Tap situation of just like, well, this bread's too small. Like what am I supposed to do with this? And then this olives here, like what there's nothing in here. And then you look in this one, there's a little guy. What's going on? It's like, and Vicky's dad, the waiter, is just like, oh jeez, now I remember why I didn't talk to her for 20 years.
Yeah, and that menu looks huge too. Like it looks like a menu you could open up and have apps for days.
Yeah. What the hell?
One thing I noticed too was that the Flügelheim, I love that name too. The Flügelheim Museum, it's spelled a little bit different on the menu than on the entrance sign. Yeah, little continuity situation.
It's a proper classic. No one's going to notice situation. It's like, you didn't anticipate this happening, did you?
Yeah, it was in the original draft. They spelt it the way it is on the menu there, with the E. And then for some reason, they decided to remove the E later on in production. And when it came to actually making the set, they went with that.
It does look like I wonder why that menu is so huge, or if it also has like, some menus it'll be like, and a little history about the building you're in, or, it'll tell like the tale of the location or something. Maybe they highlight some of the artwork, and, maybe they talk about the hanging meat carcass art that she just walked by. That wouldn't be too appetizing probably while you're eating a steak though.
But it could be, again, just like, oh, this design of this building is based on a Japanese dental clinic. Just like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't need to know that, but whatever. But I did also note as well, like, saying, like, oh, Vicky's got no food. But the thing in front of her, like, I'm not too sure what it's supposed to be, because is it like a candle holder? But it looks like a sundae dish.
You think she's been eating ice cream?
Yeah, she could have had a sundae. But then you do see it in other tables later on in the minute. So it's like, what is this thing? Is it just like a decorative goblet? What's
I thought it was for flowers.
Right, 4 flowers, but why are there no flowers in it? It is weird.
It's just like, we blew all the flower budget on Jack Nicholson. Just
Maybe they don't bring the flowers until the date arrives, because it just depress you even more to be sat there staring at flowers, wouldn't it? Jeez. To be honest, flowers depress me in general because I look at them and I just think of death because they're sat there withering away, dying before my eyes.
That's a very morbid personality you got there, John.
No, there is something, I totally get that. There's something about giving someone, I think, like a housewarming gift that's like a plant. It sort of has more of this is something, but still, either way, that's something that now you have to keep alive, Whereas, with the flowers, they're already dying when you give them to someone.
Yeah,
so
you kind of just
totally
have
get
them
that.
on a kind of life support for a while, don't you, basically?
Right.
But well, now you've ruined flowers for everybody.
We haven't had a depressing moment for a while here, Niall. I think since the dead dog quite a few episodes back.
That's going to be tough to top that dead dog. But I did note as well, though, again, this is like a testament of like, oh, well, it was the 80s. And that, while Vicki is waiting, she's got nothing. She just has to... You think for a bit of extra realism, she would be sitting like just eyeing the menu just for something to look at. Because she's just sitting staring into space. And it's like nowadays, of course, you'd have your phone or anything like that. Or if it was me, like you just have like I always have, if I don't have my phone, I'll have like a book or a magazine or something to hand. So I just don't like the idea of having to sit and just stare at the wall.
Well, I think she's doing it because she's furious.
Yeah.
Like, because this guy, maybe they slept together, maybe they didn't. But either way, they spent the night together in some form. Then, as you said, last minute, Niall, he's lied to her. He's kicked her out the house. She's had to stalk him to find out what's going on. And now he's standing her up. So, I mean, she's too furious to be looking at the menu at this point, I think.
We see later on she has her portfolio and stuff there. Like, I would be like, even if it was just for show, instead of just for the comfort of the other people. I was like, this woman just sitting, just doing nothing. But like, just like, just leaf through it or do something. You don't have to go into full on friggin', Rory Gilmore where you got like 10 books in a bag that don't fit and stuff. Like that level of, I've come prepared. But it just seems like, the 80s was a truly desolate time if you had to sit and wait for people because unless you were prepared well in advance, you were screwed, basically.
But you say it's a desolate time, but it certainly wasn't for hair. Her hair's looking incredible again. Look at that. Look at that. It's beautiful. It's a mane, a glorious mane. And she's pouting as much as Michael Keaton here.
I think maybe that's what she's been like pinching her lips. Because like, I want to impress Bruce when he comes.
She's stealing his look. Yeah, it's like, he's doing this pout thing. I'm gonna take that on.
Yeah, she kind of could rival David St. Hubbins from Spinal Tap with this beautiful mane of hair. It's definitely beautiful.
Maybe that's what they're going
hair.
for. They're trying to do the same thing.
I do have to wonder here, like this. I'm not too sure if to bring it up now or to wait until he shows up. But basically, because Bruce Wayne, a while back, like in last week's minutes, he got a phone call to say, Miss Vale says she's going to be, I think it was like 10 minutes late. And then he's like, all right, Alfred, wait a minute, I didn't, and like, he knows that something's up. And that's how he knows to go to the Flugelheim as Batman. And then you say in the original script, she's been here 20 minutes.
20 minutes, yeah. So she's 10 minutes late. So half an hour after the date was scheduled.
And then with another couple of minutes here, like everything that happens, and then Batman shows up. And it's like, he took his time getting there. I guess maybe like, it just takes a while to put on that suit, I guess. But
yeah, but couldn't he have at least rang ahead? He could have rang the museum with a message for them to give to her.
Yeah.
Like to say, the date's off, something's come up, leave.
Yeah.
You'd give her some kind of clue. But I think he knows it's, well, this is a spoiler. The Joker has set this up, obviously, and he's going to arrive on the scene any minute. I think he knows, and he's using her as bait. He wants the Joker to come. He wants to confront him.
Yeah, it could be. Maybe that was his plan. Although I don't think he's had any any reason to think that Vicki and the Joker are in any way connected yet. They could just be like, oh,
Right.
something weird's going on. It's gotta be the Joker. I better put on my bat suit. Or maybe that was his thing. Like he shows up, he's on the roof with the bat suit, and he's just like, oh, nothing's happening. Oh, I guess I better change back out of this, and he has to go back and then change again and then drive back. And just... Speaking of the Joker, though, we got our first hint that something's up here when Philip O'Brien, Vicky's dad, he reappears with a box. It's just like, what's in the box? What's in the box? But
What's in the box? Yeah, and it also reminds me of I don't know how much you guys have talked about this. We've talked about how gray and desolate most of the atmospheres are in this movie, but then there's always these little color pops, whether it's somebody kind of walking through a scene that's wearing all red, or it is very comic booky where the whole background might be all grays and blacks and and whites, and then there's these little pops. And this definitely, I mean, we know who it's from. You can tell just by the color scheme, but it's also, it really pops in the middle of that silvery, everything else on that table is kind of reflective and silvers and whites and grays. And
I do wonder,
it's kind of interesting.
If, cause you notice like the ribbon, because it's like, oh, it's going for that's your classic Joker color scheme, but I think it's like it's more the purple section's more pink. It looks a bit more like the Cesar Romero Joker outfit. But I wonder, I just like this idea though that Bob came back and was like, here's the ribbon, and he's just like, this isn't the shade of purple I asked for. And he just had to be like, all right, I'll have to do, I guess,
No, he should have rejected it. Send him away. Get another one.
I was like, boss, we only got 20 minutes to get there. All right, then. Fair enough.
Yeah, but then she opens the box. Ooh, and what's inside? It's a human head. No, it is not. It is a breathing device, an apparatus, a respirator, shall we say, a gas mask even. It looks like a plastic toy.
Yeah. It looks like this is her Happy Meal prize that she's got for attending the restaurant or whatever. But
to me, too, this whole little bright spark of color in the middle of her grayscale table is the first thing that really screams Tim Burton to me. Like, and I guess he actually hand wrote these messages, and they have this sort of quirky, just even in the G of urgent, you get a little touch of that swirliness that I believe comes in a lot more in the second movie that he does. But where it's more of his design style. But this just starts to get a peak, and I even think with that, the breathing apparatus, like the shapes, the pointiness, the swirls, they're just circles, but there's just still something that reminds me of Beetlejuice a little bit, or, some of his other iconic designy things, little details that are very Tim Burton-y.
Oh, yeah. And it's quite childlike almost, the writing. Like, to be honest, this is how I write, because I'm terrible. I have the worst penmanship ever. So, this is one thing I wasn't sure. Is this how he writes? Does he write like me? Is he stupid? Or has he consciously written it in a childlike manner?
I'd imagine
for the character.
The character of the Joker has done it in this is part of his. Oh, he's just silly and crazy, and it's like he's written it like a child would write it, and it's it's etched out in crayon, basically. It's.
Although now I'm tempted to send my partner a love letter in crayon just to see a response.
I was like, I never do love notes because I don't think you'll ever top Homer's from the Duff Brewery. The whole, maybe it's the beer talking, Mars, but you got a butt that won't quit. They got these big chewy pretzels at $5. Get out of here. It's like, that's it. That's the top one. You're never going to beat that one.
I would copy that and send that to Lauren, but she doesn't really like The Simpsons, so that would just... she would have no idea what it's referencing at all.
You'd just be like coming home and just seeing like, oh, well, all their stuff's gone. What happened there? But yeah, again, this other thing though, the little gas mask respirator thing. This is another bit, because as we're saying, like it's done in the Joker colors. But again, did he think he had to go to a guy like this thing showed up and it was just like black or like a gray, and he's like, well, you got to paint that. And so like one of the goons had to be like, all right, he wants me to paint this stupid mask now.
Well, I think he must have custom ordered it, because I'm pretty sure something you use as a breathing device, something you have around your face, you don't want to be like hand painting. Like, what kind of paints is he putting on that thing?
Well, maybe he's just a bit more haphazard. He's like, I don't care. I mean, so, I think we'll get into it in the next minute. Like the consequences of what's about to happen. I don't know. I don't know if safety's their is their top priority, really. But,
True. But he is trying to keep Vicki alive.
well, the thing is, it could be like the Joker's chaotic way, though. It's kind of like, well, you know, if she dies, she dies. You know, it's just like, I'll tear on and do whatever anyway. But
All right,
Or
Drago.
is this stuff supposed to be killing people or just making them pass out?
well, we suppose we should get into that now, because
I do.
the
Yeah, I
next-
had a question about that as well.
Yeah, the next few shots are like we see in the vents. Crazy purple knockout gas comes flowing in. And it's notably, I suppose they could just get into it, because like everyone starts passing out and stuff. And as you're saying, Heidi, we can't tell, are they passing out or are they dead? Because it's not Smilex, because Smilex gas is green. And actually, in the original
Right.
script, it specifies this gas is supposed to be green, and then I guess they had to have a conversation of, well, we can't have all the gases be green, because then it gets confusing. But
Yeah. That to me says maybe it's just knocking them out,
yeah,
because they've consciously changed the gas from the other one.
The first person that we see that's taken over by this purple gas. First of all, I love that he's right next to this like little the busser's station, and that there's like fine art right there, you know, next to the chairs, and you know where you're, you know, refreshing glasses of water and things like that. That there's just this art right there, like right in the bus station. I'm sure getting
Just
food and food particles and stuff all over it.
it's
But
getting ruined.
I love how this server here, he's like polishing the silver or something, and that he turns and looks, and as soon as he has his eyes land upon the purple plumage, it kind of billowing out, then that's when he starts the pratfallapalooza that then befalls us. He sees it, and then boop, he just, you know, goes right over. It's really
it is very secondary school drama class, you know. But
Well, to be honest, when he first notices the gas, that look on his face, I thought, oh, this guy, he cannot act. But once he hits that table, he commits to this thing, and he flies to the ground with some force. Yeah, so I'm going to give him a B+ for that fall alone. That saved the acting there for me.
But yeah, anyway, I suppose we can get back to what we were saying about, this seems to be just knockout gas. But then why just knockout gas? Why not have it be, why not just kill the people? Like, why would the Joker hold back on this? You know, and also another thing is just like, maybe they had an idea to maybe do it, even though it's in all the versions of the script. It's like, oh, they just, you know, plonk out, they're unconscious. But like, I would be wondering, like, would it not be way creepier if it was Smilex coming in and then Vicky's just sitting there and the whole restaurant's just laughing and then keeling over dead? Like, that'd be a really creepy, cool sequence.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah,
You've just improved the movie tenfold now.
It just seems like, they just went like, nah, just make it the knockout gas, whatever, you know.
Re-watching as everybody starts to pass out so quickly is that we knew already because of the design of this that there are a lot of vents, but now we really see how those vents come into play. Because it's you know, these vents are making it really easy for all of this stuff to just overtake everybody. I'm seeing the guy that the other waiter, who may be the guy you guys are referencing, who knows he's a little bit older, that biffs it at the top of the stairs and does a fantastic roll down those stairs.
I love that.
That there's events around him, and then we've got the two folks that are just seemingly were perched on top, which was already not a good idea.
No, that's like something a teenager would do.
Yeah, and then they just flop over backwards, and there's a lot of really good falls.
Well, have you noticed as well when they fall down in their brutal fashion? That looks really intense. Jeez. On the way down, they also clip that artwork. They smack that picture like with the guy's arse like connects with it.
Right.
But it's again, it's some people doing like full on like this is our moment. We get to like we're gonna get a shot in a Batman film to ourselves because like the people behind Vicki like they're doing prime acting. Like they're kind of the three of them all like looking around each other like what's happening here? What's going on? Oh my god! Instantly unconscious, just like cartoonishly fast.
Yes.
How quickly they pass out, and they're so into overacting the whole like what's going on.
It's a strange mix in tone, actually, because the stuff we were just talking about is quite intense and dark. People falling down the stairs, flying over banisters, possibly landing on their head. But then there's the comedy bits, like you said. They just kind of, it's done in a comedic fashion with some of them in the background, and then in a second you get people falling face first into cakes and pasta and all sorts of things.
I get that guy going down the stairs, and a very controlled looking fall. Like it's a very like, okay, you're gonna have to fall down the stairs. Just get ready. All right, and you can tell that this is
roll.
Yeah. It's like, right, just land on your knee and then throw yourself over backwards and then go that way. And again, it's like high school acting kind of thing of like, all right, now you're knocked out.
I think that's a deliberate choice. I think they're because that's what Tim Burton's going for. He wants that mix of tone, and that suits it perfectly.
Right.
Oh, this wouldn't be out of place in like the 1960s. TV show like this has been up there with that,
Definitely.
Well, yeah, because when the guy goes face first into his cake, I thought, oh, is this supposed to be a kind of clown pie in the face sort of thing?
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was meant to be kind of referencing, because Joker's clownish, almost literally, and he's going face first into, well, it's not a pie, but it's the same deal. He's getting cream all over him.
I was more curious about the two of them in that. Because of the way it's cut, you think like, oh, they're at the table together. But then it doesn't make a lot of sense because she's in the middle of like spaghetti and they're having like a pasta.
Oh, yeah, wait.
And then he's having a cake. And it's like, does this guy eat at the speed of light? Like, why is he charged through this dinner so quickly?
Yeah, what the hell? Unless he just wasn't hungry.
They're giving us an idea of some of that menu we were wondering about. You can get a big slice of cake or a nice classic plate of spaghetti.
It could be a new concoction. It could be a kind of savory cake. It could be a meat cake.
And then I don't know if that woman got the note because, like, when he goes down, he's the eyes closed. All right, he's knocked out. She goes down face first, the eyes wide open. As if she's
maybe
dead.
It's because maybe it's because the spaghetti was a little hot on her cheek and it kind of popped her eyes open. Oh, hot spaghetti on my face.
Oh God, yeah, that might be the first take. It might be fresh.
As they also know from like Bruce Wayne's soup way back when. It's like when they make that food to come out and set, and it's scalding hot, baby. Like,
yeah.
So we got all these people doing their elaborate. Falling down routines, and then we get Vicki having to convey through this gas mask and just with her eyes having to be like, oh my god, what's happening, blah blah blah, and it's all getting pretty intense.
Yeah, I like the way you can clearly see she's trying to figure out what's going on and what she can do. Like, she's not completely passive. I know she's sitting there, but she's trying to figure out how she can get out of this kind of situation. I think you can see it in her face.
Yeah.
So that's some nice acting there.
And and after that, then we got the music kind of comes to a dramatic crescendo, and the doors open wide. We're coming in with somebody. Who could it be?
Ooh,
but
we don't know. Nice POV shot, just to keep us in the dark.
Yeah, and in terms of like the action for the minute, that's kind of we're on the verge of a big something big coming.
Oh,
we have to wait until Friday's episode to get into that one. So
what could it be?
Yeah, that's do you either of you two have any other things you want to bring up about the specific minutes? Or
the only thing I thought of was when the folks go over the banister backwards like that I was almost surprised that there wasn't a Wilhelm scream there. That seemed like a kind of a ripe Wilhelm scream opportunity. But
That would be perfect.
Yeah.
It's the only way to improve that.
but that was it. That was about it for me.
Well, since we might as well put it in this episode because Friday's episode is going to be a doozy. There's going to be a lot going on. I'd just like to ask Heidi, do you have any memories of this movie or a history with it at all? Are you a big fan?
Such a good question. I remember going to see it, and I remember enjoying it, but it's one of the things that happens when you get to listen to these Movies by Minutes podcasts is you get to hear the depth and breadth of which people get into something, and what an impact it had on their lives. And so I gotta say, it's not one of those for me. It's not something where I've obsessively watched it a bunch of times. I just remember thinking it was good, and then sort of remembering the second one a little bit more, I think, because of the penguin and the sewers. Like when I think of Batman and Tim Burton, I think of sewers and penguin. So, and then, I did remember, the Joker visually, but not really the whole movie, which kind of makes it fun because then, I got to sit down with my husband and just rewatch this and go, oh yeah, there's all this, kind of pulp and noir sort of stuff going on. And it just sort of watch it as if I've never seen it before.
Yeah.
I think that's quite common, to be honest, that a lot of people seem to remember the second one a lot. I'm not sure. I mean, to me, it is the best one. That's my favorite one. But I always assumed everyone else thought the other way and they preferred the first one. But a lot of people we've spoken to have said, oh, yeah, this one's good. But that second one, oh, yeah.
That's kind of how. So with Rick and Julia of Mad Max Minute, the first film, they kind of had this thought that most people were a little bit more familiar with the second one.
Yeah.
But I'm more familiar with and have seen many times the first one. And when I started watching the second one, Mad Max, to, prepare to be on their podcast, I was like, I remember the visuals of it. I remember him, the leather, the boots, the car and all that, and everybody's, costumes and the hair and all that stuff. But the actual story, I barely remembered at all. Whereas the first one, I had seen a bunch. So
I think it helps that the first one has more story to remember. Like the second one is my favorite in that as well. But it's a very basic plot, isn't it? It's very simplistic.
Yeah,
you could probably write it in a paragraph.
I think that's almost though. That's Mad Max in a nutshell. I think the third one's like the most complicated one because like the first one's just like
and it's the worst one.
The first one is just like, oh yeah, he's a cop. There's a gang kill his wife. He goes mad. Max gets mad.
He turns to mad. Yeah.
The second one's like Max has to help these people against this other rival faction to haul a tanker somewhere. The end. And then the third one's a bunch of weird stuff with Tina Turner. And then the fourth one, the fourth one's just like they drive to one place and then they drive back the other way. Like that's Fury Road.
Well, I was counting Fury Road separately from these. If I was going to pick my absolute favorite, I would go with that one. I'll be honest. In a rare, stunning move, a modern version of a film series has won me over.
No, likewise, I agree. I have an affinity for the very first one because I was in high school watching it, so it had more of an effect. But I've already seen Fury Road more than any of the other ones, and it really stands up to multiple viewings just for everything, for the effects and anyways, but we're not on Mad Max. We're on Minute 89.
This is also known as the Tangent Podcast, so you can talk about whatever you want.
So you're saying, Heidi, like, because you were there in 1989 in the midst of Batmania, but you didn't really buy into it. Like you weren't going around like wearing the t-shirts and cutting your hair into the
No,
shape of a
no,
bat
no.
symbol or anything like that. That was.
But I will tell you that my husband is a huge Batman fan. We have some really fantastic Batman related artwork. It is from the television series. It's inspired by, the television series, but from the 60s, but it's I drive a smart car, and it's our vanity plate, it says tiny bat, and that's from the idea that eventually my husband wants to turn our smart car into a tiny Batmobile. So
Oh,
I
yes.
definitely have a connection, but it's a little bit more through my husband and a little bit more skewed towards the 60s.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the films overall, like would you, if you had to like, like ranking them basically, would you say like this is for you an epitome of Batman, or are you more like no, the 60s is more where my visions of Batman lie, or are you more, oh no, Chris Nolan, I think that's the pinnacle of that character, or do you even have strong feelings towards him, towards the character in general, or?
I think I love, like, I definitely grew up knowing the campy fun of the 60s Batman, and having it, it always seemed to be in syndication on regular television somewhere. It was just kind of fun. And I have a love of, 60s fashion and music from the 60s. And that aesthetic is more pleasing to me.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And then the Christopher Nolan ones I like for what type of movies they are, but they seem to be a whole different world, than the 60s one. So I think I like that there's so many different versions in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool thing. It can appeal to everyone, different ages, different eras, different styles. It's fantastic.
If you like it completely silly, you've got the 60s version. If you want a bit of a mix of dark gothic and a bit silly, you got this version. If you want it stone cold serious and good, you got the Nolan films. And if you want it stone cold serious, completely miserable and bad, you've got the current run. So
yeah, of which I have not seen any at all. So yeah, I have no opinion of those because they just didn't look interesting.
I mean, like, there's good and bad points. There are bits in like Batman versus Superman that are like, oh, that bit's amazing, and then there are other bits that are just like, oh god, no. But I will say, like, because I did a bit of just thought like, oh, while Heidi's here, because we always make these connections between like, oh, this person was in that with this, and I was like, there must be a direct correlation between this film and Spinal Tap. And like obviously the big major one would be, is like the most glaring one is like, well, Jack Nicholson was going out with Angelica Houston for years, and Angelica Houston is in Spinal Tap.
Sure.
Yeah.
But the only other one I could really, I'm sure there will be other ones that I'm just not, that aren't popping out to me. I thought like, oh, some of the, these people, like the actors in Spinal Tap, they've been in loads of stuff. But then the one that really stuck out to me is that Michael McKean, in an episode of the Batman animated series called, I think it's called Legends of the Dark Knight, or maybe just Tales of the Dark Knight. But there's a kind of concept episode where it's actually 3 individual stories. It's actually a really good one, where it's like it's this bunch of kids and they're talking about like, oh, my dad saw Batman, he told me he's like this. And then they'll go into basically recounting a bit of The Dark Knight Returns. And they'll have Batman will show up and he's voiced by Michael Ironside. And he looks just like the Frank Miller version. And then someone else will be like, no, I've heard that he's like this. And then there's actually one that's directly referencing the Silver Age kind of, or the Golden Age kind of comics. It's Michael McKean voices the Joker in it. And
oh, fun.
Yeah, and he's doing things like he's got them tied up inside a giant piano. Because that's the thing. It's kind of like, oh, this is appropriate because in that plot line, the Joker is robbing a giant, not an art museum, but a music museum. I was like, oh, that's kind of appropriate. It's now Heidi's on this episode. It's the Joker in a museum, and it's Michael McKean, and
Yeah.
He does a great job in it. But then the only other thing, like Michael McKean's, like, I guess because he played, not so much Batman stuff, but he's really steeped in Superman, because he's married to Annette O'Toole, who was Martha Kent in Smallville, and she was Lana Lang in Superman 4 or Superman 3, whichever one she was in. And then he himself was Perry White in Smallville. I was like, oh, this guy needs to come over to Gotham more often, I think. He's steeped in Smallville a little too much for my liking, but...
Yeah, he really shows up in a lot of great stuff. Some fun, X-Files episodes and some Star Trek Next Generation and stuff like that. So he's really such a talent and so fun and really goes all in on whatever is being asked of him. And then Harry Shearer, I know Harry Shearer pops up in some of the classic Star Wars stuff too. So we've got that.
Oh yeah.
That connection through to the, Pinewood and all that you guys have covered so exhaustively.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. we could go on about it for about 50 more hours. Don't worry.
I think that's for this minute. Anyway, I'm done. Unless the two of you have anything else you want to add in.
That's it for me.
That wraps it up for minute 59 of Bat Minute 89. Heidi, before we go, have you got anything you would like to share? Where can the good people find you online?
So you can find me for our new podcast. My friend Molly Balin and I are covering The Cabin in the Woods 1 minute at a time. New classic format, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, much like you guys do. Well, exactly like you guys do. So you can find that at cabinminutecast.com. And also, if you're interested in what I do for a living, I'm a coach for multi-creative people. So people that like to do all sorts of creative things for a living. They're not just tied down to one kind of creative thing, but they do a lot of different stuff, kind of like, Tim Burton does. He does writing, he does art, he does directing and all sorts of things. So that's at HeidiBennett.com if you're curious about the kind of coaching I do and all that kind of stuff. You can find me at HeidiBennett.com, BENNETT.
Great. Make sure to check that out, everybody. And you can find us on Facebook at the Bat Minute 89 Listeners Society. So make sure you join that and you can get in touch with all the great, hilarious, weird fans we have. We love you all of you. And you can tweet us at BatMinute89 as well. And make sure you review us on iTunes, because that would be lovely. We would be really appreciative. And we'll give you a shout out if you like on the show as well. And join us again on Friday, because we'll be back for more exciting action. We'll be at minute 60. We've hit the hour mark. Minute 60 on Friday. See you then. Next time, all hail the new king in town, as some conceivable corpses lay akimbo. Which callous count of criminal clowning will get down with the radness of his royal badness? Find out Friday. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.